My first announcement is regarding the assignments. Make sure when you're in this course that you're clicking on the announcements. It should automatically default to the announcements when you first sign in. And notice that each week I am posting an announcement out there, what's assigned that day. So last week we had the remaining sections of chapter 4, which is 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You have this quiz that you need to complete, and you also need to complete the test. The test will include all of your sections from chapter 4. So this week, we're going to start working on 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. This is mostly decimal work. A lot of it you'll just input into your calculator. There are lecture notes that are attached below, and then also this is place value. Now let me just click on it to open it up. And then you'll need this sheet when you're actually working on your homework. And this is just a place value, and I'll explain all this here in a minute. But for now, I just want you to make sure that you're looking at these announcements so you're keeping track. The other thing that I did that I want to announce is I went into MyLabs Plus, and if you notice, going down all through your chapter 4 material, and here's these orange squares, or the checkpoints, the quizzes, and then we have our green diamond, which is our test. So make sure you complete this quiz and this test, and you can see I have deadlines attached to those. Also, for chapter 5 material, that's all posted here. And you can see for the chapter 4 test, I have this due the same time all of this homework is due. So just remember, for this week, there is no chapter 5 quiz. Next week, and you can see the deadlines that are associated with it, we'll work on the remaining sections of chapter 5, and then we'll take the quiz that week. So if you notice, anybody who's decided to work further ahead, you're welcome to do so. And I have a lot of dates attached to these different sections. So chapter 5 and 9 has been prepared. You'll see the quizzes, they've been released. And also this test for chapter 5 and 9 has been released. The homework is sitting out there for chapter 6 and 7. I have all the dates attached to that. All I need to do now is release the chapter 6 quiz, the quiz for chapter 7, and then there's one test, just like where this is 5 and 9 combined, there'll be another test which will combine 6 and 7, those chapters. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that a lot of these dates have been assigned. Anybody who wants to work further ahead, just know that 5 and 9, chapter 9 is all together, and those quizzes for chapter 5 and 9 are ready, and then that test with a combination of chapter 5 and 9. So other than that, I don't have any additional announcements. The next thing I want to talk to you about is section 5.1. When you're in section 5.1, you're going to be converting decimals to fractions. And as you can see, there's 6 examples here. I'm going to go through those, and I'm going to explain to you how you convert from decimal to fraction. And to ensure, as you can see over here at 0.125, we're going to use factoring to ensure that we have it in simplest terms, because 125 over 1,000 is not a fraction in simplest terms. So we're going to learn how to factor out so we can reduce, just like we did in chapter 4. And then down below 5.9, we'll learn how to deal with that mixed number where it's a whole number and a fraction. And then also we're going to learn how to round our numbers. So this is all posted to the announcement section if you want to look through it at any point. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is the actual homework for 5.1. So we're going to take a look at that. And then I want to point out this place value in a decimal system. So this is in your announcement section with your lecture notes. And we know the homework notes is in the contents section under a read notes, homework notes, something like that. So if you look at this chart, if you look at the number here, it's 125.2408. So any of the numbers to the left, we're used to dealing with. These are our whole numbers. We understand the tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. We understand those places. Now, if you look from any number to the right of the decimal, we have a 2408. When you start with the 2, that's in the tenths place. So you can see below the 10, it's showing you what it looks like as a fraction, and then down below what it looks like as a decimal. As a fraction, the 10th place, it means 1 over 10. For instance, that 2 would be 2 over 10, or it would be 0.2. So, but we need this chart, so you need this chart visible when you start working on your homework. So whenever you read these problems, the decimal place always takes the word and. So it would be 125 and 2408. So let me just kind of show you what I mean. So for instance, write the decimal number in words. So you need to, the first thing you're going to see is 15 points. That means you're going to look for the word 15 and. And you can see A through D all have 15 and. And then we need to see, well, the next part is 29. Well, we can see it all has the word 29, but it's the last word we're looking for: hundreds, tens, tenths, or hundreds. Now, anything to the right of the decimal, if you see A and C, they both have THS. So when you look at this chart, if you notice, it's tenths, hundreds. So anything to the right, you know, has a THS at the end of the word. Tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. So that's how we're going to read this number. Whoops, I didn't mean to close that one. So the number would be read as 15 and 29 hundredths. Hundredths, if you look at your place value, there's 2 digits, and when you're 2 digits to the right, you know you're in a hundredths position. So that's what you're going to do with all these. You're going to determine. So if you look at this one, number 2, there is no number before on the left side, so it wouldn't be any word in the word and like we saw above. Instead, it'll just start with this actual number, which is negative 806, but it's 3 places, so there's 3 digits, 1, 2, 3, so it's going to be the thousandths place. So we're going to look for 806 thousandths, and remember, not thousands, it has to have the THS when you're going through these. So you're going to have several of those you're going to go through. It's going to have you fill out a check, and basically you're going to write the number, and you can see the numbers right here, and then you're just going to write it out in words. That would be 479, and then the fractional part, you just write that number over 100. Down below, we're going to now read it and write it out. So 1 and, whenever we see the word and, you know you have to include a decimal point. And then 4 hundredths. So that means it's 4, but hundreds, there should be 2 digits to represent that. So this is 4 hundredths, meaning it's in a hundredths position. Just like this, 32 10,000ths. 10,000ths is just saying how many digits there should be to make sure 32 is in a 10,000ths place. We look at here and we can see 10,000ths. There should be 1, 2, 3, at least 4 digits to the right of the decimal. So there's going to be some placeholders. So this is something new that you'll have to get used to. Down below, we have write the decimal as a fraction. So if you go these lecture notes of mine, you can see if it's 0.7, we know it's 0.7 is 1 digit, it's the tenths place, so that means in a denominator we'll have a 10. So we're going to write whatever number this is, 0.7, that will go into your numerator. Whatever position it's in, it's the tenth, so we write the 10 underneath, and we know that we cannot reduce that down any further, so that's in final form. Same with the 0.51. We know the 51 will go into the numerator, and depending on how many digits will determine what will go in the denominator. If we have 2 digits, we know it's 100, so that will be the hundredths. And we cannot reduce that fraction down any further. Same with this 0.009. So we know we write the 9 in the numerator, and we have 3 digits to the right. So if I look at that, this 1, 2, 3, that's a thousandths. thousandths place. So we know 1,000 will go in the denominator. Same thing up here with 0.05. 5 goes in the numerator, and then there's 2 digits. So we know 1, 2, there's a hundredth. So we know the 100 will go down in the denominator. And then if we reduce it down by factoring, you should be able to get that as, that's an error. That should be 1/20, not 1/2. Because if we're going to factor out, we leave the 5 on the top, and we also know 5 times 20 is 100. 5 times 20 will give us 100, and that's why it'll reduce down as 1/20. So that's an error. It shouldn't be 1/2. And if we were to plug in 5 divided by 100 into the calculator, we'll end up with 0.05. And if you type in 1 divided by 20, you'll get 0.05. So you get the same answer. And you can see below what I did is I factor out to reduce. Now the final one, anything that's to the left of the decimal point is your whole number. Anything to the right of the decimal point is your fractional piece. And since there's only 1 digit, the 9 goes into the numerator. And down below in your denominator, since there's only 1 digit, we know that's our 10ths place. So we're going to end up having a 10 underneath. So that's how we're going to deal with converting from decimal to fraction. Now, the other thing you're going to be responsible for in section 5.1 is the rounding. Now, how does rounding work? So again, you're going to read your set of instructions, and the set of instructions will tell you, for instance, this one, to the nearest 10th. So that means, if you can see how I drew it out, the 10th, the 0.2, we know that's the 10th place because we look at our diagram. So we know 1 digit over from the decimal is the 10th place. So since that's where we're rounding it to, that means that we got to look at the next number, which is that 3. And then if that 3, since it's not equal to or greater than 5, then that 2 just will stay the same, and all those other digits will drop off. So if they went to the nearest 10th, that means you should only have 1 digit to the right once you round it. Now, had that 3 been a 5 or higher, then that would have forced that number 2 to count up to a 3, and then everything else would drop. So that's how we round. Now, down here below, here's another example. Now, it's asking us to round it to the hundredths place. And hundredths, again, when you look at your diagram, you should have 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So if it's the second one over, that's that 2, but we need to look at the digit to the left, which is a 7. And you can see where I wrote my notes. Since it's a 7, it's going to force that 2 to count up. So you can see the 2 now becomes a 3, which is down below here. And then everything else just drops. If it's the hundredths position, then you should only have 2 digits when you're rounding. So let's see, I only have a couple more minutes left of free recording time, and then I'm going to record for 5.2 and 5.3. So when you're looking at this homework assignment, you can see you're going to just, take the words and translate that and write the numbers. You can see there's going to be some conversions here. Just follow my example. 6.6, again, it's 6. And then 6/10 because it's in the 10th place. And then you got to simplify that 6/10 by using your factoring that you learned in chapter 4. Same with number 9. Just representing 1/10. It's just giving you an example up in a row with what you need to do. And then it'll give you a number. So you're going to represent it as a decimal and also as a fraction over on the right. They want you to see here that you're going to start looking at to determine if something's larger or smaller. You're always going to look at the first digit first, and you can see this 0.7 is smaller than 0.8. You might have to keep going. You can see down below, you have to go to the third digit where it's 0.081 and 0.089. And you can see, remember that negative numbers are further away from 0. So the 0.081 is actually bigger because that, again, when you're in the negative direction, the higher the numbers it goes, the smaller it is. So you're going to do some rounding, and then here's a quick word problem where it's just going to have you round. All right, now we'll move over to 5.2.